Welcome to Prayer Decode. Have you ever felt weighed down by the responsibilities you never chose? Or wondered if surrendering truly means losing control? In tonight's video, we dive deep into the heart of letting go, a journey that might just change the way you see your burdens. Imagine a space where your silent struggles meet divine comfort, where God not only hears your whispers, but holds you through the storm. Curious to find out how releasing control can set you free? Stay with us as we unfold this heartfelt conversation, sharing wisdom and personal reflections that might just be the answer you've been seeking. If you're ready to explore your faith in a new and authentic way, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to join our growing community at Prayer Decode. Every week, we bring you fresh insights, prayers, and inspiring messages to uplift your spirit. A whisper in the dark. There are moments when silence speaks louder than any words. It's in the stillness of the night, when the world quiets and our souls finally speak, that we often realize how heavy our hearts have become. We lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, the weight of invisible burdens pressing down on our chests. These aren't the problems we share in casual conversation. They're the silent heartaches we carry alone. The responsibilities we never asked for, the expectations we couldn't meet, and the people we couldn't fix. This video isn't just another prayer. It's a sacred conversation. If you're between the ages of 35 and 65, chances are you've lived enough life to know what it means to be both strong and silently breaking. You've probably been the one others lean on, even as your own heart quietly unravels. Tonight, let's take off the mask of "I'm fine" and breathe in the freedom of surrender. The weight we carry. There's a unique kind of weariness that doesn't come from lack of sleep. It comes from holding everything together while feeling like you're falling apart inside. You show up, you smile, you function, but deep down, you're running on empty. I've lived that. And if you're reading this, you probably have too. Maybe you're exhausted from trying to fix a situation that's beyond your control. Maybe you've prayed, waited, and hoped only to be met with silence. Or maybe you've loved someone who refused to change, and now your heart is caught in a cycle of disappointment and guilt. I want you to know something. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are human. And being human means there comes a time when we must release what we can no longer carry. Letting go isn't giving up. Letting go isn't about giving up. It's about acknowledging our limits. It's about saying to God, "I trust you more than I trust myself." One of the most powerful scriptures in the Bible comes from Isaiah 46:4. "Even to your old age and gray hairs, I am He. I am He who will sustain you. I have made you and I will carry you." God doesn't just promise to fix the situation. He promises to carry you, the version of you who's tired of explaining your pain. The one who feels like a failure because you couldn't fix it. The one grieving silently, without anyone even knowing the loss you suffered. It's okay to let go. And it's holy to trust God with what's too big for you. Trusting God with the unknown. One of the hardest things in faith is trusting when we don't understand. And yet, that's often where the deepest intimacy with God is born. Psalm 55:22 says, "Cast your burden on the Lord and He will sustain you." Notice it doesn't say, "He will immediately fix everything." It says, He will sustain you. That means He will hold you together even when everything else is falling apart. You might be in a season of unanswered questions. You might be mourning the loss of a future that will never happen. But none of that means God is absent. Sometimes He allows the breaking so He can become the builder. The holiness of surrender. There is something holy about surrendering, not out of defeat, but out of trust. It's the moment you unclench your fists and say, God, I release it all to you. I've been there, clinging to people, outcomes, and expectations, believing I was responsible for fixing it all. And in the process, I wore myself thin. I performed strength while crumbling inside. But real faith isn't about pretending to be strong. It's about admitting our weakness and letting God be strong for us. Praying through the pain. Prayer isn't a performance. It's not about having the right words. Sometimes it's just groaning in the dark, saying, God, help. You don't have to have it all together to approach God. He's not waiting for your perfection. He's waiting for your honesty. Tonight, let your prayer be raw. Let your heart speak without filter, and let your soul finally exhale. Let this be your prayer. Lord, I lay it all before you. The way I've carried, the people I can't change, the outcomes I can't control. I release it to you, not because I'm giving up, but because I trust you more than I trust myself. Help me to let go. Help me to rest. Help me to believe that you are working even when I can't see it. God's unchanging character. Sometimes we need to stop asking, will God fix this? And start asking, who is God to me in this? He's not just powerful. He's personal. He's not just holy. He is near. He's the God who whispers comfort when no one else understands. The God who protected you from doors you cried over because He saw what was behind them. The one who stayed when others left. The one who said, live when you were drowning in despair. And He's still here. Healing takes time and trust. Healing isn't a moment. It's a process. It doesn't always look like fireworks or instant deliverance. Sometimes it looks like waking up and realizing the weight is a little lighter today than it was yesterday. Sometimes it looks like no longer blaming yourself for what broke you. Sometimes it's simply allowing God to sit with you in the brokenness. God is not afraid of your grief, your doubt, or your anger. He meets you there. And in that meeting, He begins the work of healing. From control to closeness. Here's the truth I had to learn the hard way. My desire for control was actually a longing for safety. But the safety I was searching for doesn't come from controlling people or outcomes. It comes from closeness with God. When you finally let go, not from fear, but from faith, that's when peace flows in. Not the peace the world offers, but the peace that surpasses understanding. The peace that comes when you know you're held, even in the storm. God of every room in your heart. We all have rooms in our hearts we've shut off. Places of shame, trauma, disappointment. Things we've minimized, spiritualized, or just buried because we couldn't deal with them. But God wants access to those places not to expose you, but to heal you. He wants to touch the pain you've numbed, to breathe peace where chaos has lived, to remind you that even the most broken parts of you are worthy of love and restoration. Resting in His presence. Tonight, you don't need to fix anything. You just need to rest. You don't need to perform. You don't need to prove. You don't need to be perfect. God is not asking for your resume. He's asking for your heart. Lay it all down. Your fears, your regrets, your dreams, your future. Place it in the hands of the one who wrote your story. You are safe there. You are seen. You are loved. Embracing vulnerability as a strength. In this journey of faith, vulnerability becomes the gateway to authentic connection with God and ourselves. When we allow ourselves to be seen, truly, completely, we invite healing that only comes from being honest about our brokenness. It is not a sign of weakness, but a courageous act of surrender. I've experienced that moment when the facade of control finally crumbles, revealing a raw, unguarded soul yearning for God's gentle touch. In those moments, I realized that my vulnerability was what made me human, and it allowed me to access a level of grace I never thought possible. Personally, I used to hide my struggles under a mask of stoicism. I believed that strength meant never showing my pain. Yet, every time I let a single tear drop, I found a deeper peace. Vulnerability became a language of trust, a trust that God would meet me exactly where I was, no matter how fractured I felt. The art of surrender. Surrender is less about giving up and more about stepping aside so that something greater can emerge. It's a practice that requires not only faith, but a willingness to let life flow without our incessant need to dictate every outcome. I learned that surrendering isn't an abandonment of hope. Rather, it's an acknowledgement that I no longer have to carry every burden alone. I've often reflected on moments when I spent nights wrestling with thoughts of control and imperfection. In those quiet hours, I began to see surrender as an act of creative trust. It allowed me to envision a life where God's wisdom guided my steps more than my own limited understanding. This personal evolution has taught me that surrendering sometimes means rethinking the way we see our struggles. Instead of perceiving them as failures, I've come to view them as chapters in a larger, redemptive story that God is writing uniquely for each of us. Deepening intimacy with the divine. The essence of our spiritual journey lies in deepening our intimacy with God. This is where personal reflection and honest prayer intersect to create lasting transformation. When I embrace deep, unfiltered conversations with God, I discovered the profound truth that I am never truly alone. Those midnight whispers, filled with both sorrow and hope, gradually became a sacred dialogue. I learned that God listens not only to our words, but also to the silent pleas of our hearts. It is in those quiet moments that I truly recognize the power of faith over fear, of presence over performance. Building this intimacy has meant challenging myself to welcome every part of my story, especially the scars and unfinished dreams. Each day, I practice pausing to meditate on the moments where God's gentle presence turned my pain into purpose, reminding me that my value is not defined by how well I manage the chaos, but by how deeply I allow love to enter even the darkest corners. Reflections on the journey ahead. As we continue this sacred journey, let us hold fast to the courage found in vulnerability, the freedom in surrender, and the deep intimacy that comes with trusting God. My personal reflections have taught me that every step, no matter how small or unsteady, is a testament to the resilient spirit within us. In sharing these insights, my hope is that you too are encouraged to embrace your own messy, beautiful path toward healing and wholeness. The lesson in letting go. So what's the lesson tonight? That surrender isn't weakness, it's worship. That letting go isn't failure, it's faith. That healing doesn't always start with answers. It starts with honesty. You don't have to carry it all. You were never meant to. The God who created the heavens also created you, and He is more than capable of carrying both. Rest in that ... And if tonight you needed to hear this, let this be your confirmation. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. And you are not beyond healing. Let go. Not because you're giving up, but because you're giving it to God. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. As we wrap up tonight's journey, remember, surrender isn't about giving up. It's about making space for a love that's bigger than our pain. Let go of what you can no longer fix and trust that God is holding every piece of your story with a gentle, unwavering embrace. I hope these reflections have ignited hope in your heart and reminded you that even in your darkest moments, you are profoundly loved and deeply seen. Thank you for spending this sacred time with us. If this message touched you or answered a prayer, please share your thoughts and prayer requests in the comments below. And remember, if you haven't already, subscribe to Prayer Decode for more inspiring content that nurtures your faith and helps you navigate life's deepest challenges. Until our next prayer together, may peace and grace be with you always.